Erfon Elijah, Gadget Hunter, back with another video. You thought it would be another 2 years? Oh no. Here I am, ready to talk all about AppleCare One. This is Apple's newest AppleCare Plus plan that covers multiple gadgets. Tons of details wrapped up in here. We're going to go through everything. This should be the only video you need to watch. I'm going to show you everything you possibly need to know, and will help you decide if this is going to be something that's going to be worth it for you. So if you did not hear about this, I'll cover this just really quickly. Last week, Apple introduced AppleCare One. It is essentially an AppleCare Plus for a group of your Apple devices, up to 3 devices, actually. And the cool thing is, it can be turned on for devices that are outside of the 60-day buy window. So usually if you're buying AppleCare Plus, you have to buy it within that 60-day window. And it's actually surprisingly cheap. It's only $19.95 a month, which I know kind of sounds expensive, but you got to keep in mind that an AppleCare Plus plan for like the Vision Pro alone is $25. So depending on what devices you have and what devices you want to insure, this actually might be a insane deal for you. Okay, so let's get into the details here. As I mentioned, this is an AppleCare Plus plan, which means that it covers accidental damage, if you drop kick your MacBook Pro, if your AirPods get smashed by a monster truck, all that stuff is going to be covered. Apple will actually replace or fix your device depending on what they deem is necessary. It covers, I think, just about every Apple device that exists. Now, the caveat being that your devices need to be 4 years old or newer to qualify for this. And by the way, there might be an inspection. You can't just sign up and expect that Apple is going to cover your broken MacBook Pro. Tim Cook's definitely way too smart for that. They are requiring people to run diagnostics in some cases on their machines just to verify that your devices are in good working order. Or you actually might have to take pictures of your device or take them into an Apple store to verify that your devices are actually in insurable condition. So just keep that in mind. There might be an inspection or something. The thing that I think that you definitely need to know, because some people are probably going to be thinking that they can do this, is using AppleCare One to insure multiple devices for like different family members. Can't do it. TC's too smart for that. He wants every ducat from every person that he can get it from. So you can insure the devices that you own, but you can't extend your plan to devices that are not connected to your Apple ID. So you can't like do your wife's MacBook Air and your MacBook Pro and your son's iPhone. Like, it doesn't work like that. This is only per person. So all the devices that you want to insure have to be devices that you own and that you use. Hey guys, future Erfon here. I'm editing the video, and in this next clip, I'm about to talk about theft protection, which is part of the new AppleCare One and AppleCare Plus plans. And I kept calling it theft prevention, like a total moron, indicating that maybe Tim Cook or perhaps Bob Mansfield in his silk robe is going to come to your house and stop those burglars from stealing your MacBook Pro. As much as I would like that, I don't think that's an option. So every time you hear me say that phrase, theft prevention, just know that in my mind, I'm thinking theft protection, which is a completely different thing, although similar sounding. Let's get back to it. One of the things I also like about this plan is they have changed the nature of AppleCare so that it includes theft and loss prevention for Apple Watches and also for iPads. So if you have an iPad Pro like I do, which I spent a fortune on, now if it gets stolen, Apple will actually replace it for you. The same with your Apple Watch. It used to only be available for iPhones, and now with AppleCare One, you get theft and loss prevention for those 3 devices if you have those devices. And that's just included. So not only are you probably going to be getting a better price, a way better price, but you're getting like the premium, everything that Apple has to offer from an AppleCare perspective. Here's where things get interesting, my friends. Just check this out. So I put together this handy dandy spreadsheet, which I'll probably link to in the show notes if you all are interested in this, or in the description, I should say. And it shows you the monthly and annual price breakdown for AppleCare Plus for all of these different devices. Now you can see here, if you have a Vision Pro, that's already $5 more per month just for the Vision Pro as opposed to AppleCare One. So here's who AppleCare One is designed for. And this is why it's so appealing to me. And I think that you're going to like it too. And I'm not trying to sell you anything. I don't care if you buy it, but I'm thinking about it from my own perspective. Like, is this something I would actually buy? And looking at the price, I think I'm actually going to do it. I mean, I have the iPhone 16 Pro. I also have a 14-inch MacBook Pro, which would be another $10. And And I also have the iPad Pro 11-inch, which would be another 8. And I think the breakdown for this, I'll pull up my calculator right now, I think was $31.97 a month. So for $31.97 a month, I could insure all these individually. But with AppleCare One, I can do that for $19.99 a month. So a more than 30% savings, and it includes theft and loss prevention for my iPad Pro and for my iPhone 16 Pro. Now, it doesn't include that for my Mac, which is a bummer. I would love that. There's probably no way to track the Mac if you lose it, so they of course, that's probably also true for the iPad. So I don't know what their motivation is there, probably because the Mac is so expensive. But that's a big bonus, and it's cheaper, and you don't have to worry about if something gets lost or stolen, and if it breaks, then Apple will just fix it for you. Well, to a degree. The devil's in the details there. We'll talk about that in a minute. So if you're a person that has multiple Apple devices, if your devices have been made in the last 2 or 3 years, it is almost a sure thing that AppleCare One is going to save you a pretty decent chunk of change and give you additional features that you didn't have before, which is the theft and loss prevention. That's why it's kind of surprising that Apple did this. They don't usually do things that save you a ton of money off their services. I mean, I guess you could subscribe to like their iCloud, I forget what they call it, the Apple Bundle Store offer. I absolutely cannot remember. I'm not even going to bother to look it up. But like if you get like Apple News Plus and iCloud photo storage and all that stuff, they bundle that stuff together, but include services that you may not want, like Apple Fitness, or Apple Arcade. Ha! Okay. I said I was going to look it up. I could not look it up. It's the Apple One bundle. I haven't said that phrase in so long that I completely forgot about it. So now you have the Apple One bundle, which, pairs your Apple TV Plus with your iCloud photo storage and the other services that Apple provides. And then there's AppleCare One. I get it. Okay, so just a small change on the naming convention. I think that's why I got confused. I was like, I thought it was called Apple One, but I'm already saying Apple One. Apple One is this, and then AppleCare One is the AppleCare service that they just announced. Okay, something else I definitely wanted to touch on that you have to keep in mind are the deductibles. Obviously, there's going to be deductibles for any device that you have covered by AppleCare. And if it's just a cracked screen, it may not be a big deal, like for iPhone, $29, iPad, $29. But if you get into other damage, then you're talking big bucks, muchachos. $299 for the Mac, $299 for Vision Pro, just at all. If you damage that thing in any way, shape, or form, you're gonna have to fork over $299 to Tim Cook to get that repaired. Probably because that whole device is like completely like hermetically sealed and super glued shut. So like if there's any problem with it all, they probably just have to throw the entire thing away. But in any case, something to keep in mind. One of the other things that cracks me up, like $15 for HomePod or Apple TV damage. Like, has there ever been a claim ever on Apple TV? Now, HomePods, there probably have been claims because the HomePods have had, like, the version 1 of HomePods have had a ton of issues. In fact, my HomePod, if you listen to my podcast, pooped out probably 2 years ago and just stopped working. So HomePods, like the very first version of HomePods, had a lot of problems, like tons of problems, actually. So many people have had problems with their HomePods, and they just quit working. And Apple, of course, didn't put a smart connector port or anything on there so that they could plug into it. So if it had any kind of software issue, which I think were really common on the HomePods, they were just bricked forever, and you just had to throw them away. Isn't that totally insane? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So just keep in mind, there are deductibles. I mean, these are the same that you're going to pay with AppleCare Plus. It is AppleCare Plus, essentially. So you will have to fork over some money if you have an issue. But I had an iPhone that I took on a trip. It got spritzed with water. I didn't have AppleCare. Water got into the phone. I could do a whole 30-minute story just on this because I had such a bad experience with AppleCare at the Apple Store, the Genius Bar. Is that even what they still call it? I don't know. And the phone, in fact, I have it right here. Phone totally bricked. But I took it upon myself to take this whole thing apart, which was a feat of courage I would recommend for hardly anyone. I had to sit there with like a clean room and like gloves and everything, take the whole thing apart and air it out. And it does actually work right now. I can boot that thing up. I'll do it right now. I can boot it up right now. You'll see it totally works. But, a little bit damaged inside, not waterproof anymore. Anyway, all that to say, I know that AppleCare is probably not worth it in many instances, but if you have nicer devices, MacBook Pro, iPhone, Vision Pro. If you have to use it even once, it's totally worth it. It's going to save you a tremendous amount of money, and you won't end up with a bricked phone that cost me $1,000 that still had 4 months of warranty left that Apple wouldn't cover, because even though their phones are quote unquote waterproof, they are not actually covered by the normal AppleCare warranty, which you probably already knew. Now, there are a few things that you want to consider when you're considering AppleCare, and I think this is a big one. For one, are the devices that you have all worth insuring? Now, I say this because if you're looking at AppleCare One and you're like, well, I've got 3 devices, and if I were to insure all of them, it might cost me $35 a month, and it's only $19.99 a month, which I can't say. So it's worth it. But like, would you actually get insurance for your Apple Watch Ultra? When was the last time someone broke one of those? When was the last time someone lost one of those? Like, maybe if your arm got chopped off, or you were that dude who had his arm pinned between the rocks in the mountains and you had to saw your arm off, maybe then you lose your Ultra. Otherwise, probably not. My only point is, like, you may have devices that might be cheaper to insure a la carte because you don't actually need to insure all of them. So definitely something to consider. The other thing is that the AppleCare Plus plan doesn't cover all of the stuff that I think you think it might cover. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I was reading through the fine print, and there seems to be a lot of stuff that AppleCare Plus doesn't cover, which I didn't realize. Like, for instance, cosmetic damage, normal wear and tear. So if your iPhone gets scratched, has a big gash on it, but it still works, Apple is not going to do anything about that. In fact, my iPad Pro has a ding in the bottom. I have no idea how it got there. Not going to be fixed by AppleCare One. They don't cover cosmetic issues. It's only really functional issues, a broken screen, if your iPad bends in half or something. Now, you could do something unsavory. I'm definitely not advocating for you to do this. You could just break your device and then Apple will replace it. So I don't really know how they think they're going to get away with not replacing devices that have cosmetic damage. It seems like they're just incentivizing people to take a sledgehammer to their MacBook Pros. But that is in the fine print, so that is something to be aware of. Normal wear and tear, I don't even know what that means. Does that mean that if your MacBook Pro breaks because you've just been using it, that they're going to say, oh, well, you've just used it for a long time, and so it just wore out. We're not covering that. That's news to me, dude. I thought that AppleCare Plus covered all that stuff, but I don't know that it does. Now, I've heard stories of people that have obviously had AppleCare Plus work for them in those situations, but it seems to be up to the genius's discretion. I don't know about you. I've had a lot of really grumpy geniuses, genii, if you will, who just don't really want to help me, that are very argumentative. It seems like their natural state is just to not want to help you in many instances. I don't know what the deal is there. Maybe you'll get a good one. Maybe you could show a little leg or something, and that will help you out. But in my case, it's been a major mixed bag. Now, the other thing I want to bring up, and these are 2 major pro tips. If you want to get coverage that is cheaper, there are 2 ways that you could generally get coverage. Now, this is more for like functional issues. At least for this first example, is a lot of people don't realize, like, their credit card, especially if you use MasterCard in the US, extends their warranty for an extra year. I have used this countless times to get repairs, and now you have to pay for the repairs yourself or get an invoice. And then if your credit card offers extended warranty protection, they'll refund you the money. It's totally crazy. And it's available on a lot of credit cards. In fact, the only credit cards I get are ones with extended warranty, because there's no reason to not have a credit card with extended warranty protection because so many exist out there. So that's one option. Option number 2, and it kills me to promote this. There is something called a personal article insurance policy. I don't know if all insurance companies sell these, but State Farm does. And you can insure a specific item. And if anything happens to that item, if it's lost or stolen, State Farm will just reimburse you for it. We have personally used this in my family, and it's really cheap. It's way cheaper than AppleCare usually is. For a MacBook Pro, like a really high-end one, it might be like $6 a month or something. Now, the thing is it doesn't cover functional issues. So, again, if your MacBook Pro just breaks for some reason or the motherboard fries, they probably won't cover it unless it's like damage that's outside of your control, which I guess how would they know? So just keep that in mind. It's definitely not as convenient as AppleCare Plus, but it is cheaper. And this is another good route to go, especially if you have a lot of stuff that you want to insure that's even outside of the ecosystem of Apple. like cameras or wedding rings or whatever, you can place a insurance policy just on that device. And if it gets lost or stolen, State Farm will just reimburse you for it. So I think I'm actually going to take advantage of this. $19.99 a month. It's going to save me probably $12 a month. It's going to give me theft protection on my iPad Pro, which I didn't have and I don't have now. It's going to give me that same protection on my Apple Watch Ultra. And I'm going to get a refund on the AppleCare Plus that I already bought for my iPhone 16 Pro up front. I had to pay for that up front and let me pay for it month to month. I think this is a really good deal. I don't know. What do you all think? I hate to be cliche and say, leave your thoughts in the comments down below, but I'm actually honestly curious what you all think about this. And if you're thinking about subscribing to AppleCare One, I actually think this is a really great option for us Apple fans that have tons of Apple gadgets. Now, the one last thing I should mention, I probably should have mentioned this 20 minutes ago, is you can add even more devices. It's good for 3 devices at a time, but if you want to add more, it's only $5.99 a month. That's actually a totally fair price. Now, I wouldn't pay $5.99 a month to insure my Apple Watch SE, but if you have multiple Macs, if you have multiple Vision Pros, if you have, I don't know, different iPads or whatever, it's like, you know, for an extra $5.99 a month, you can get that level of protection, that same level of protection that you have on your other devices. I think that actually might be worth it. I would love to see them have like an AppleCare One family plan so that we could have a plan that covers everyone in our household. I think that makes a lot of sense. I know why they didn't do that, because they probably don't want a bunch of expensive equipment to be insured all at the same time, like multiple Macs or multiple iPhones. Like most people just have one of those devices. So there you go. Let me know what you think. AppleCare One. I'm Erfon Elijah, Gadget Hunter. I got more vids on the way. Make sure that you tickle that subscribe button. I'll be back very soon. Tell your mother I said hello.